There's two terms that I really fucking hate. One's called the Series A crunch. The other one is growth hacker. But for this presentation, I am embracing both of those terms since they have caught steam in the press. Don't fight the fucking music. If it's like taking off, you just gotta roll with it, right? So what I'm gonna talk about is what I think is the biggest challenge with a lot of startups these days is getting scalable customer acquisition at break even or better. And if you can do that, you probably get to Series A, Series B, profitability, whatever you want. And if you don't do that, you probably don't. So it's kind of almost binary. You need to figure out scalable customer acquisition, hopefully profitably. And if you do that, you can raise money or be profitable, and life is good. And if you don't do that, you probably can't. It's really kind of, you can ignore the rest of my talk now. That's all I really wanted to emphasize. And the point is that most startups focus on product way too fucking much, and they don't really think about marketing. And when I say marketing, what I really mean is probably, at least for the stuff we care about, analytically driven online marketing on search, social, and hopefully eventually mobile, and maybe video, and maybe some other things. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit. I stole all those images. I'm sure somebody else came up with them, so like I'm rip stuff off left and right. Sorry. So this talk is basically, how many people are engineers, programmers? About a third. How many people are tired of raising their hand? Okay, great. How many people think they're in marketing? Okay, wait. How many people think they're in marketing? Keep your hands up. How many of you have done an email campaign to 10,000 users or more? Okay, how many people have done marketing? How many people in marketing? Raise your hands again. How many people have spent, come on, fucking, I know more of you raised your hands. How many of you are tired of raising your hands? Yes. People in marketing, how many of you have spent $1,000 a month on a paid search campaign? Yeah, okay. How many of you have spent $1,000 a month on Facebook ads? See, what the fuck? Come on, like that's the point. You haven't done an email campaign, you haven't done paid search, you haven't done paid like social, and you call yourself marketing. What do you do? What do you do? You blog all day. Okay, that's good. You tweet, right? Yeah, okay. So when I like do this talk and everybody in marketing goes, yeah, Dave is like all been for marketing. I'm like, no, because you fucking suck and you don't really do marketing. Anyway, sorry. This is me. Like if you haven't seen me before, this is how it's going to go. So sorry. All right. So you're a geek who doesn't really care about marketing, or you're in traditional marketing and you don't know what I'm talking about analytically driven online marketing. So anyway, you suck at marketing, aka growth hacking. And if you're a geek or an entrepreneur, you probably spend way too much time on product and product features, and you probably don't measure any customer metrics whatsoever. So you might be paying attention to this thing called customer acquisition, but you probably don't do it at scale, and you probably don't do it profitably, or you don't know that you do it profitably. And all of this basically just means that you will never get fucking funded at Series A. Maybe you'll get funded at seed by some stupid angel investors and seed funds like me, because we bet on stupid shit. But the people who actually sort of know what they're doing in venture want to see that you got the hockey stick going. And the bar keeps getting higher for that. So therefore, you will die. So most of you will die. How many of you are entrepreneurs again? Yeah, you idiots. All right, so if you want to fix this, this is first time sort of doing this talk, so it's a little rough, but anyway. All right, yeah, I used to be a geek and a developer. Then I did some marketing at PayPal and Simply Hired and got lucky investing in a few companies as an angel, and now I'm trying to do this professionally, and we'll see if that fucking works. These days I'm running this thing called 500, this is the commercial part, by the way. These days I run a seed fund and accelerator called 500 Startups. We have about 70 million under management. We actually have invested in 500 companies. I think we did that about 2 months ago. Thank you very much. Which is not something, no. Don't fucking give me credit for that. When I actually make 1x back the fund in cash, then I can start to maybe brag a little bit, maybe 2x. But anyway, a lot of people think this is just me, and it's not. We have about 26, 27 people on the team, actually a few more, I think, 12 people doing investing in 6 countries right now, actually into about 35 countries. We've had about 22 positive exits in the last 3 years. This is where I claim all this amazing shit. We've had 2 sort of big exits, Wildfire and MakerBot. MakerBot hasn't quite closed yet. Brady, thank you for the tip on MakerBot. And like I said, we've done investments all over the world. Most of our investments are in Silicon Valley, but about a third, 25 to 30% are outside the US. And Russia should be on there, but it's not. All right, so that's the commercial. So there's probably 2 big changes in the last 10 years, one of which you're probably aware of. That one is that it's taking a lot less money to build companies, or at least build the early phases of companies. So 10, 15 years ago, you would have had to buy Sun Server, Oracle software, big fat pipe, and those things probably would have cost you, I don't know, a couple $1 million, maybe more. So you really did need a sort of $3 to $5 million sort of financing to just get product out there. Or probably you were building packaged software. I'll talk about this later. But anyway, all those costs have really come down dramatically, starting between, say, 7 to 10 years ago. And so what used to maybe cost $5 million, and then now, say, $500,000, 5 to 7 years ago, now you can do a lot of experimentation for $50,000 to $100,000 or less, maybe even nothing. The other dramatic change that people know but don't think through is just there's a lot more people online. Went from less than 100 million to 3 to 5 billion people online, depending on whether you count SMS or smartphone or tablet as online. But at least 2 to 3 billion people, and probably another 2 to 3 billion people in the next 5 years or so. And their behavior changed dramatically too, from reading print magazines and watching television and listening to radio to spending shitloads of time on Google, on Facebook and Twitter, on mobile phones, on tablets, watching YouTube, and doing lots of messaging and communication. So the behavior change in people, right? This is not, it's a tech thing, but it's not a tech thing. It's actually mainstream people spent lots more time doing things other than reading print and watching television and listening to radio. They still do those things, but probably an equal, maybe even more amount of time moving to these other platforms and devices. Now, we have not adjusted our behavior as marketers to that fact. Certainly not as entrepreneurs. Technology, although it has developed, programming, state control, flow language, set-based processing for databases, all that stuff is modestly different than 10 to 20 years ago, but not dramatically different. Marketing is dramatically fucking different than it was 5 to 10 years ago. It's completely different. You don't do an ad spend in a print magazine. You don't do a buy on, well, you might do those things, but you're, again, probably foolish for doing those things. You can have very point-targeted online spend, and now with Facebook, probably even very demographically targeted spend, and maybe in the future even locally demographically targeted spend in lots of ways. You can sort of do that on Google now, right? And so the method of customer acquisition and the available amount of inventory of people's hours, brain, social activity has dramatically changed, right? I'm trying to yell to emphasize why this is such a huge thing, but you probably still won't fucking get it. All right. I'm going to move on, because this is, again, most of the talk. That's the thing that we just have not shifted our behavior at all about, right? Because if you can figure out how to do online customer acquisition profitably, you should just do that fucking all day long. That's the amazing thing that has happened. That is the promise of the internet. It's not the tech part, it's the access to people part. So, Daft Punk Lean Startup, simpler, faster, cheaper, smarter. All the entrepreneurs out there, one more. I might get it fucking right this time. None of you got that? Really? Come on. Anyway, so the thing about the technology platform, the internet, is not just all these geeky things. It's the ability to test customer reaction in close to real time. I don't mean real time like it has to happen right away. I'm just saying, like, you can push something out there and on the web get reactions in like hours to days, and on mobile, because of maybe the App Store push cycle, maybe it's weeks. But within a reasonable period of time, less than 1 month, you can get a set of data back from your customers, hopefully, about how they use your products. Now, most people still aren't doing that, but this allows for quick iteration in how you build stuff. And Eric Ries leads Startup, and Steve Blanken, et cetera. So this startup ecosystem, this is a little bit different than it was maybe 10 years ago, a lot different than 20 years ago. But the angels and incubators that maybe individually invest 25 to 100,000 and collectively invest up to $1 million seed rounds, and then micro VC, whatever the fuck that is, or super angel, like those things have started to become much more structured and a big part of the process. Because the costs have come down dramatically, that's where a lot of this initial product development and what should be market development is happening, and we haven't quite got that all figured out. But like, this is not going to change. It might change further because you have bootstrap methods and Kickstarter methods. The SEC actually approved some parts of the Jobs Act yesterday, 4-1. 4 out of 5 SEC commissioners think I won't get arrested for using AngelList now. But like, this is the part that really is not just for startups, it's also for VCs. So VCs, as much as we are investing in technology and scale and all this other shit, we are fucking hypocrites. Like, we have not automated, we have not scaled up, we have not disrupted ourselves. Maybe a few folks are. Andreessen Horowitz, First Round Capital, Google Ventures, YC, maybe us and a few others. But in general, VC is not a very thoughtful or scientific industry yet. So if you were to make that more thoughtful and scientific, what would you think about? Well, what we're trying to do is basically, in a 3-stage process, build product, test marketing, generate revenue at scale. That's kind of how I think about it. So product market revenue, or incubation, seed, venture, whatever you want to call that, Series A and B, and you do that a lot. And for South Park fans, well, I do this thing called Startup Metrics for Pirates, and when I talk about acquisition activation, everybody starts with acquisition because that's the first thing sequentially in that list. But really, what you should be thinking about is building product is an activation and retention exercise. You're trying to build something that someone notices, uses, and comes back again to use. That's the first loop that you're trying to figure out is, do people notice your product, use it, and come back and use it again, and maybe tell other people? And if you can't get them to do that, don't bother trying to focus on acquisition and scaling up everything else, because you're just going to waste time and money. But if you start to get that loop of they get activated, they use it, they like it, they come back, they tell other people, then you might start scaling up, right? If you can do that profitably. And so that marketing phase, the market or marketing phase, acquisition, referral, paid, whatever, that's the piece that people tend to forget out. That's the collect underpants piece. People are like, hey, collect underpants, something, profit, or Series A, or scalable, profitable customer acquisition growth. Like, what the fuck is in the middle there? What's in the middle? Oh, how many people you do marketing? No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Come on. All right. I'm going to go way over on this. So the thing that we're trying to do, we, 500 startups and hopefully other investors, is we make a lot of little bets when we think you're smart and you've got a functional prototype that looks interesting, right? And then if you can do the scale up, we double down. And really what we're rating for is 3 things, right? Increase in usage, increase in revenue, other investors to jump in, right? Those are the 3 sort of signals that something is working. And by the way, the last one's the least interesting, right? So your ability to get more users and get more revenue, hopefully, maybe improve some other conversion metrics, and then get somebody else to jump in and like, great, now we'll double down and maybe even triple down. And out of that, we hope we get maybe 50 out of 250, and then eventually maybe like 5 to 10% at scale. So here's the thinking, right? So that product market revenue stage. First stage, and you might be able to do this on $0, but let's say maybe between $25,000 to $100,000. You're testing for this functional prototype that someone cares about, not your mom, right? minimum viable product. It's shitty, but it solves a problem, and I'll pay for it, maybe, or at least I'll use it. This demonstrates your ability to get a product out the door and hopefully the customer's desire to use your product and maybe pay for it. And a lot of people fail at this step. They can't get a product out the door, or they build a product that no one is interested in, right? But if you get past this phase, great. Next phase, market validation, revenue testing. And this is where it changes. Stop fucking building product. Start doing analytically driven growth hacking, marketing, testing, right? So I want channels at scale that cost less than revenue generated at some point. Got it? Channels, marketing channels, search, social, mobile, offline, traditional, that generate leads of users, potential customers, at scale, and at some point monetize to break even or better. Hopefully on the first transaction, maybe within the first year, hopefully before they go away. And if you can show on the seed investment round, or whatever bootstrap you're doing, that you can expand usage to some large size, and it looks like it might be profitable customer acquisition, then the big boys jump in, and then you're at Series A and B, and you're really off to the fucking races, and maybe you're optimizing for growth, maybe you're optimizing for revenue, maybe you're optimizing for profit. I don't know. All those could be possible. But this phase is the one people forget, right? Everybody's like, oh yeah, I can bootstrap and create a product. Yay! Right? But can I scale customer acquisition profitably? That's the big fucking challenge. This is the collect underpants, whoop, wait, what's in the middle? And then profit, or at least revenue. Got that? Okay, so beating the Series A crunch, whatever the fuck that is. The deal is basically, everybody's worried about this Series A crunch thing. Oh, we're in another bubble. Oh, all this other crap. Bullshit. Bullshit, we're in another bubble. People who are spending billions of dollars laying fiber and like wasting money on fucking internet startups that didn't generate revenue or certainly weren't profitable, and they shoved that on the public markets. Like, that's why people made money in the late 90s. It was not because they were building useful products and generating revenue. Now, people are building products that people pay for. Now, they may be not profitable, they may not be great, but there is actual customer usage and revenue going on. It's very different. However, probably not that many more VCs than 3 to 10 years ago. In fact, actually less VCs than 10 years ago, but lots more angel investors, entrepreneurs, startups, and ability to build companies. So that's the disconnect there. And everybody's like, oh, well, Series A is the thing that happens next. All these companies are going to hit the wall. And you're like, not really. They could get to profitability. They could get to small scale. But there is some truth to the fact that not everyone's going to get to that Series A. However, again, if we're thinking about like what was the dot-com crash before 2000 and what was the dot-com crash after 2008, so those were two different sort of crashes. All the shit I was talking about before, Sun servers, Oracle database, Exodus hosting, development cycles, less people online, lot of capital requirement, and I had to go like do the sandhill crawl to figure that shit out. What I call the big fat dinosaur startup stage, right? Many of them not profitable, many of them not even generating revenue, still went public and dumped that shit on the public markets. Just bad. Bad, bad, bad in construction, strategy, ethics, morals, whatever. Now, lots of stuff in the cloud, a lot cheaper, open source software, lean startup methods, short development cycles, billions of people online, much less requirement funding rounds, lean little cockroach startup. Now, a lot of that shit's gonna fail, but it fails cheap. Not a problem. I'm getting the hook already. This is great though. Do I get 10 more minutes? 5? That wasn't that enthusiastic, so I'll take 5. So different types of crashes and things going on here, but generally better. And really, the issue is the Series A crunch, certainly no worse than the MBA crunch. You're probably spending about the same amount of money on a startup seed round as you would for 2 or 3 MBAs. I guarantee you'll learn a lot fucking more from running a startup into the ground in 18 months than paying $100,000 for 2 years of an MBA. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So you tell me you're worried about like, I don't know, 1 million people spending money on MBAs, then I'll start worrying about the Series A crunch. Because right now, this shit's a lot better than going to get an MBA. Sorry, for everybody who has an MBA, sorry. Stanford turned me down. I tried to get in. They didn't let me in. I ended up going to PayPal instead. Fuck you, Stanford. That was an awesome call. Yeah, anyway. So, your fail budget is less than $1 million, maybe even less than $100,000, and all those failed startups are really education, hopefully. Regardless, many will die, some survive, and a few will thrive. And you know what? Hey, all the Series A crunch. Actually, in TechCrunch yesterday, venture capital doubled in Q2. Like Series A and Series B capital, right over here. This shit right here. See this green thing, that's Series A, and this orange thing is Series B, and look at the size. Like, what happened here? Like, all of a sudden that doubled. Now, maybe that's not going to keep going that way, but certainly everybody whining about Series A crunch because Q4 was slightly down. This is up dramatically. We'll see. So that online customer acquisition thing, let's just 2 seconds on this, right? Search, social, mobile, and some other stuff. Everybody recognize these logos? How many people know the logos on the right? Top right logo, what the fuck is that? Anybody know what it is? WeChat. How many people ever use WeChat in this room? 10. WeChat, fastest growing online fucking service ever. Ever, period. 500, 600 million users in less than 18 months. You heard of it? No, you haven't heard of it. What's the next one? WhatsApp. Oh, a few more people heard of that. How many people in the room use WhatsApp? Oh, not bad. Not bad. 150 to 200 million people in about 2 years. Probably has turned down offers from Google and Facebook for acquisition already. Probably worth $1 billion at least. Yeah, Line and Kakao, you probably don't, those Japan and Korea, but 60, 80 million users. Those things on the right, hundreds of millions of people in less than 18 months. Second line to the right, Pinterest, valued at $3 billion, Tumblr bought for $1 billion, Instagram bought for $1 billion. Also, didn't exist 2-3 years ago. Right? So amazing amounts of online customer access for very, very short-lived products, and you know all the other shit. Right? So these distribution platforms that are 100 million to 1 billion people, you all know them, right? Google, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Android, YouTube, whatever. None of those, with the exception of Google, existed more than 10 years ago. Facebook and Twitter maybe only 7 to 10 years ago. Apple and Android less than 5 years ago. Right? So those things, very recent, last 5 to 10 years that this has all happened. We don't know shit about marketing to those. Maybe you know search a little bit. Right? And so this minimum viable team thing that we're talking about, the hipster thing is contrived, but hacker, hipster, hustler. The hustler one, everybody thinks it's a traditional marketing and business person. No. It's an analytically driven, online customer acquisition focused person who might do product, who might do marketing, who might do other things. But that person is numbers focused. They have to be creative too. And they have to be knowledgeable on a multi-channel basis. This thing that I was talking about before, the explosion of channels in marketing, offline and online now, very, very complicated. Your ability as a marketing person to understand paid and organic methods of customer acquisition in email, in search, in social, in multiple mobile platforms, in video, in messaging, in other shit that hasn't been created yet. Sorry, I skipped that. How do you do those things? Do you even do 2 or 3 of those things well? No, you probably don't. How are you going to manage and find people to do multiple of those channels? Hard, fucking hard. So I won't get into all of this, but the thing you need to figure out is the unit economics for customer acquisition. What does it cost to build product? What does it cost to acquire customers? When do you acquire those customers? When do they generate revenue back? And you start to build a financial model based on that customer acquisition, right? Can I scalably create customer acquisition on a channel basis and on a campaign basis that pays back within, say, 3 to 12 months? Can I get to break even within 3 to 12 months? Ideally, maybe on the first transaction. When do I have to spend that money versus when does the money come in? For a company that we invested in that was doing gourmet coffee, they get the money before they actually have to pay for the inventory. Awesome. Others, you might have to pay for the inventory first, and it might take you 6 to 12 months to get to break even. So once you figure out sort of some things about that customer acquisition, then your job is to tweak to profitability and scale. So I'm trying to figure out leads, customers, customer acquisition costs by channel and campaign, and I'm trying to build a model and then hack and tweak to scale that up, and then hopefully maintain those economics at scale. But if it's not working, you got to keep testing. You don't scale up if it's not working unless you just have shitloads of money and you're stupid. But if it is working, then go raise some fucking money. Or maybe you can even bootstrap if it's working and you could do it out of cash flow. The interesting thing is you could probably, if you have provable customer acquisition at scale, have metrics for that, you can probably raise it on debt, not equity. Interesting, the market hasn't gone there quite yet. All right, so I'm pretty much done with the talk. There's other shit online. If you want, these slides are online. Use AngelList. It's fucking awesome. I'm biased, but it is actually awesome. It's changing the face of venture capital. And that's my shit. Thank you very much.